What is up? It's been a minute since I've been live. I figured I better jump on and say hello. Whoa, what have we been up to? Working a lot on a bunch of different projects, not just TikTok, but a lot of different things. Hello. What is up, AVC? Sandy, hello. Waterless Fish, what's happening? How are we doing, you guys? It's good to see you. It's been a minute since I've been live, been a minute since I've been on. Hit that like button for me. Push it, get those hearts going. I literally just jumped on, but we're going to be doing a little bit of a chit chat today about UFOs, UAPs. If you guys have questions or want some answers, let me know in the chat. So today, Steven Spielberg's third trailer for the movie Disclosure dropped. And I found it pretty interesting. There was a couple things inside of the trailer itself that actually connected back to Roswell. Wild enough. So I'm curious if you guys have seen the trailers for Disclosure Day, what your thoughts are on Disclosure Day, the trailers, and do you think it actually connects to anything that's going on today, or is it complete mystery sci-fi that Steven Spielberg is currently working on? I'm super curious to know your thoughts on that. What's up, Ron? What's up, Bush? Bush baby? How we doing? What's up, Pete? Hold on, I need a water. Give me 2 seconds. I gotta grab one. I literally just started the live. Anyways, UFOs, if you guys taking a look at the trailers. The news trailer that just came out for Steven Spielberg's movie, Disclosure Day. Pretty interesting. I'm really excited to see that movie myself. I believe that Steven has a deep connection to the UFO conspiracy. I believe that he has insider information. And personally, I think that he's wrapping it up. I think they gave him this information to create this new video. I'm really excited to see what happens. Thank you, Bush Baby. I appreciate you. I see you liking the live. Do you guys have any questions on the UFO topic you want answered? I have recently been looking in a completely opposite direction than everybody else. When you think UFO topic, you're specifically thinking UAPs, UFOs, objects in the sky. And I've spent the last, 4 years deep diving down this rabbit hole to the bottom of the pits of hell. And I have come across many things that are outside of the UFO phenomenon, such as like religion, atoms. I started researching like how atoms work, neurons, neutrons, string theory, understanding like metaphysics, physics, like all kinds of stuff. And I did not expect that to be the case when looking into the UFO phenomenon. I started looking into different religions, Greek mythology, all kinds of really strange things. And what is weird is it just all seems to be tied together. And that's probably the most confusing part about the UFO phenomenon. There's traces of this all over the place. I don't know if you guys have watched any of my work or seen any of my work or followed any of my work, but I know when it comes to the UFO conspiracy, I feel like I'm weirdly talking about really strange stuff that no one else is talking about right now. Trying to get to the bottom of the words that are being placed in front of us. Paying attention to people such as Steve Justice and James Lukaski and To the Stars Academy and a bunch of different other companies who seemingly are tied to the UFO phenomenon. As we know, what is his name? Lockheed Martin dude. You guys might want to help me out in the chat. I'm blanking on his name, but the dude from Lockheed Martin is currently missing. Like the head of Lockheed Martin, one of the generals, General Neil McCaslin. There it is. General Neil McCaslin is missing. You guys heard about that? That's pretty interesting. Why? What happened? Curious to know what your guys' thoughts are on that. Is it anything suspicious to do with the UFO phenomenon, and or is it just a random coincidence? What are your thoughts there? Do you guys have questions on the UFO phenomenon? What's up, Ryan? How's it going? Where are we at, you guys? Where are we from? Let me know in the chat. It's crazy. It's too crazy to be a coincidence. I agree. I think it's really strange. He's been missing for well over a week. He didn't bring his cell phone. His wife released a statement, which I thought was really interesting. The statement that was released was just like she was jokingly talking about, oh, she doesn't know anything about. I'm sorry. She released a statement and said like, oh, it's not related to the aliens' bodies. She quoted that, and she also referenced the fact that he might have been beamed up by the UFOs. And I was like, what? Nah, dude. Nah. This is sus. If you ask me. A bit sus. But yeah, nothing happens by coincidence. Not in this aspect. You know what I've been finding really interesting is Epstein. I don't know if you guys have followed my work lately, but Epstein, I made a video today or yesterday stating that he was connected. He's deep connected. It's really interesting. You know, Epstein ended up buying a plot of land near Los Alamos in 1993, and that was sus. Like, why? Epstein owns an island. Why is he concerned about Los Alamos? First off, for those of you who don't know what Los Alamos is, it's essentially where they created the nuclear bomb. And it is where we had, what's his name? Oh, man. The Manhattan Project was made there. Oh, it's good to see you too. So, essentially, yeah, we created, like he bought a plot of land there because after the nuclear bomb stuff kind of got shut down, he was interested in all of the scientists that were still within the area. And he contacted, collected, and hung out with all of these super smart people, essentially, so he could start learning physics, metaphysics, dark energy, learning a little bit about quark and soup, and what is the other words? Some really other interesting things. And I know that sounds weird, but when you start looking into dark energy, fusion, and that kind of stuff, it'll make sense. So quark is a specific part of an atom, and soup is what happens when atoms like combine, kind of like I'm trying to break this down too. So like atoms will like essentially combine at some point, and it creates what they call a soup. It's really interesting, and I'm still learning about all of this stuff, so like I don't know it all by the back of my hand, but like, you know, Epstein started, I watched part of his interview, and I have it posted on my channel in multiple locations, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch it. But he starts talking essentially about the financial system. But what he does in that video is he references the financial system and the human body, essentially, because it's the most complex thing that we have. And it's interestingly enough that he starts talking about like physics and metaphysics and like matter in that same context. And he calls it a charm, a flavor, a soup. And I was like, man, those are some interesting words that he's using right here. So you just take those words, you put them in Google, and you go research it in terms of what he's talking about, and it brings you back to the UFO phenomenon. And I was like, wow, that's rather interesting. So here Epstein is being connected to portions of understanding dark matter and material. And, you know, in Los Alamos, at the same time that we were working and creating the atom bomb, we were also learning about nuclear fusion and fission. And we were creating, what is that thing called, where we smash atoms to CERN. We were working on the very beginning of CERN. And I found that to be rather interesting. So when you smash atoms together, essentially we're going back to learning about the Big Bang. Therefore, it could fall into the category of time machine. Not that we're physically going to a location, not that we can physically go to another time, but instead we are reversing time by looking at smashing of atoms and particles and seeing what happened during the time of the Big Bang. So it's very very interesting. I certainly don't like it. What is it that you don't like? All I know is I'm quirky and I'm eating soup like that. Oh, well. So, yes, I know that's a lot and it's very confusing, but that's what I've been trying to understand and learn recently, has been deep diving about that kind of stuff, because I was like, man, what does Epstein have to do with this connection? And it's a lot. And I feel like we're going to learn that Epstein was way more connected to this kind of stuff than one would think. Why was he so interested in it, though? I have a feeling that Epstein may have learned some of this information by having those people out on his ranch, and then the information that he learned, he sold, I'm guessing, to like NASIC or Skunk Works or Lockheed Martin, because I have a feeling also that the UFO UAPs that we're seeing are connected to Lockheed, and we have proof of that because what is his name? Dang it. He's the news reporter from News Nation. He's been literally saying that it came from Lockheed Martin. I'm blanking on his name. I'm not good with names right now. What do you guys got going on in here? I believe it, to be honest. What's a burn bag mean? Why is our birth certificate so important? You know what? I don't know why our birth certificate is so important. That's a good question. I don't know. That I can't help you with. I haven't done any research on that one. I've been researching many other stories, theories, and connections that have been very interestingly small versus the UFO conspiracy, because like everybody's so focused on objects that are flying in the sky. UFOs, UAPs, when you think of that, you think of crafts. But I have a feeling that a part of this is connected on a deeper level, such as energy. You see, I definitely think it's connected back to a form of energy. And yeah, I'm just super, super interested in that recently. I believe it's a way to track us and keep us in line. You said you believe it's a way to track us and keep us in line. Are you talking about our birth certificates and the burn bags? It very well could be. I mean, that'd make sense. Yeah, that would make sense. Yes. I don't know if have you guys been a follower? You followed some of my videos and stuff. You've seen what's happening on my YT page recently. I believe that it's definitely on a deeper level than what we're learning with the UFO phenomenon. I think they're using words, big words, to disguise the information that's getting ready to come out. You've seen bits and pieces? Okay. What's been the most interesting video that you guys have seen? I'm typing with long nails. Oh, well, I'm proud of you for doing that. I have no idea how you do that. My nails are short and I still have trouble typing. I text to talk, actually. It's hard. I believe it. Chris Bledsoe, he's been in the news lately. I don't know if you guys have seen those videos, but Bledsoe is an interesting character, and he's been at the top of the list for interesting lately. I'm very confused about him, but he is a person who I really truly think is hiding words in front of our faces. He's connected with NASA and Tim Taylor. A lot right now, lots of targets. Bledsoe currently off. Yeah, so Bledsoe is extremely interesting, and a lot of the stuff, I just made a video about him because he's connected to this shape. I don't know if you guys have seen this on Chris Bledsoe, his videos recently, and I've found it very interesting. I've made a couple videos on it, and he seems to like use it as a reference. So, yeah. You've seen this shape in the skies? That's interesting. It very well could have been. Someone says it was black. I believe it. So UFOs have been known to be triangular in shape. I know that we have the TR-3B is also triangular in shape. We have a few jets actually that are in that same category of shape, I guess, but I have a feeling it's much deeper than that. Yeah, it's so hard to describe and explain. I'm going to make a new video connecting Epstein here because I have made recent discoveries that are like, that I was like, oh my God, dude, I need to make a video on this. But it's been so difficult because the stuff that I've been talking about is like not making sense to a lot of people. And I feel like my videos are like way out there. And I'm like, oh, I'm so far on a different walking path than the 6 other YouTubers that I follow. It's been tough. So like, everybody's talking about these crafts and mind control and this and that, and I'm like, that's cool, but you guys should be checking out atoms. Like, check this out. This is atoms and hadron colliders and metaphysics and all this stuff. And I'm like, you guys pay attention over here. It's interesting though, because even like Disclosure, the movie Disclosure that's coming out by Steven Spielberg, it seems to be connected into a spiritual aspect as well, which also ties us back into Chris Bledsoe's story. And I'm interested to know why. Like, you know, that's part of the reason they've walked the line about Disclosure for the longest time too. They're like, man, should we talk about Disclosure? We shouldn't. We shouldn't, because if we do, it's going to wreck people's religion. And I'm confused because the research that I've done about it crosses paths with almost every religion, and it seems to go back to the part that I've followed specifically seems to go back to the Greek mythology and ties us in a lot to the Greek mythology, the Greek gods, stars, so like constellations. It crisscrosses paths with Egypt. I've learned a little bit about like Isis and Thoth, their story. I've also ran across Da Vinci a lot. So like, these are really weird things that I've crisscrossed paths over while I've been searching down the UFO phenomenon. And I mean, I've done research, not Wikipedia stuff, but the DIA, the NIA, the CIA, the DOD, the FBI, the CIA. Like, I've done that kind of research, and those are like, it all seems to crisscross over the same paths, which I have found very interesting. Yeah. I'd do almost anything for full disclosure. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get full disclosure. I think we're going to get disclosure. I think that it's not going to be full. I think that they have to keep certain stuff secret. But I think that we're getting ready to... Part of me says that they have unlocked a new technology, whether that be a form of gas or fuel or oil source or clean energy. I think that we do have that. I think that's coming. We're going to get small crumbles as usual. Yes, but I think the drip of that has happened for the past, for sure 4 years. And I think that's preparing the public. And I'm pretty sure that we're learning since I've been on the path of all of this like nuclear energy kind of stuff. I think that it has to do with fusion energy, 0 point energy, fusion energy, that kind of stuff. I continue to cross paths with uranium, plutonium. And I understand that that's connected obviously to like all of the war stuff, like World War II, nuclear bombs and that kind of thing. But I also think that they learned something during that time that might be being used today. Trump created the Space Force in 2019, I believe. And I think he's setting something up here for us, whether that be... Not saying that he's doing great things, because it's not just Trump. This I feel like has started about 70 years ago, but went under super quiet wraps, was hidden from the government, as we know. I've heard that multiple times. Even Obama had said that as well. So it crosses paths across many generations, but I'm really interested to see what comes of this. I have a weird feeling that it's some sort of fusion energy that we've unlocked or learned about. And they're going to put it into use, whether that be anti-gravity or something, but I really do think that that's what's going to be happening. Hi, Holly. How are you? We're talking UFO phenomenon. Feel free to ask some questions in the chat if you guys got some. I will do my best to answer them. JT Farms, what's up? We're just hanging out talking UFOs. I want to know why we can't go back to the moon. Well, we are, actually. Currently, we have plans underway to go to the moon. We're planning on, and I believe that's part of the reason that we built the space program, but we're planning on going back to the moon, and I've heard, rumor has it, that we're attempting to put a nuclear facility on the moon, and whether that be for the fusion drive that I was telling you about and or a fuel station, but they keep stating that they're going to put it on the backside of the moon, and we currently have astronauts, multiple astronauts who are going to be heading back there. And within the next, actually, I just seen a video on this today, but we're going to be seeing it happen. It's going to start out on a month-to-month basis, I think, and then we're going to start going every... Maybe they said every 6 months, and then we're going to start going down to every month to month. But that's going to happen. Artemis 3. Thank you. Yes. Someone says, IG your hat, bro. Thank you. Appreciate it. No cap. Knee slapper. Just kidding. Well, it's time to go to the particle. They scrapped the human mission. It's going to be empty to see the dark side of the moon. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Do you believe that they may be here disguised as humans? Yeah. Someone says, do you believe that they might be here disguised as humans? Yes, I do. I think that they are. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, if there's... actually, that's a great question. The more and more I've dove into this, the more and more I believe that it's the CIA. Yeah. Joel, Chris Bledsoe. That is a fantastic topic. I touched on it earlier, but my thoughts about Chris Bledsoe are we need to pay the attention to Chris Bledsoe. Chris Bledsoe is involved in whatever is going on with the UFO Disclosure Project. This man is in deep. This man has hidden secrets. This man is very religious. As I talked about earlier, it's a religious-based thing, but it's also not. I think the words that he uses are, what is the word for that? Essentially, you need to look beyond the words. So, like, the words that he uses are references to very specific things. And if you've watched any of my videos, you might know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't, highly recommend that you go to my YT page and check them out, because believe it or not, over the past 5 years of me deep diving on topics, I ended up crossing paths with Mr. Bledsoe. And when doing that, I learned some stuff. And Chris also seems to have connections to the stars and learning about Da Vinci and learning about the Greeks and learning about the solar system as well as the constellations. One of the things that Chris had said in his story was that he got blown over. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but go watch Chris Bledsoe's story, but he talks about walking out to like this dog kennel area because he was pulled out there by some spirit or UAP or something, where he met the lady, and he walked into the backyard and he said he fell over. This blast of air just like was directed at him, and he fell over and he seen a bull. And he said the bull had stars in it. And I was like, what? Well, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. Until you think beyond the words. And this is important. If you guys are paying attention, if you're watching my channel right now, this is important. Chris Bledsoe said that he got blown over. And he goes on to talk about this. And he says that when he got blown over, it was by a blast of air. And then later on in his 3-hour long talk, because the man can talk forever, he talks specifically about being blown over by a spirit. And he says that that spirit was essentially like what is that called? It's like God, essentially, like the breath of God. And then when he fell over, he said he's seen the bull with stars in it. And I was like, well, what would that be? Well, that would be the constellation Taurus the bull. And I was like, well, that's interesting, because Taurus the bull happens to be one of the very first constellations ever named in the Greek mythology. Who knew? I was like, that's really interesting. And then, come to find out, if you know Chris's story, he also talks about the Star of Regulus. Does he not? Have you heard that before? The Star of Regulus? So that's another key point in Chris's story. But again, if we're looking on a deeper level than just the Star of Regulus, than just the bull, things really start to get twisted here, because he referenced the bull. But what is interesting is, like, the Bull Mountain was the very first words and names that the Egyptian goddess and gods called the pyramid. Bull Mountain. That was the Pyramid of Giza, the original name. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And then he goes on to talk about this man named Robert Grant. And Robert Grant was a polymath who studied ancient Egypt, and he studied mathematics and religion and all of these interesting things. And Grant also stated that in the king's chamber inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, he found a bull. He said, I've never seen these bulls before. No one has. We've studied the inside of the pyramid many times, but we've never seen this. And on the right wall, next to the king's chamber, he found a bull with stars in it. Now, Chris Bledsoe references that bull. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Back to what I was saying about the star, right? Because he was talking about the Star of Regulus. Because in 2026, the Star of Regulus, when it aligns with the gaze of the Sphinx on the horizon, there will be a new knowledge, right? You guys remember that? Well, if we look at it again in terms of a deeper level of wording, not just a star, but what is a star? If you look at what a star is, we know that a star is essentially a sun, but what is a sun? On the deepest levels, it is an atom, essentially. And the interesting thing is he might be referencing Regulus as an atom. And the atom could have two colors. You see, I've learned a lot over this research project that I've been doing, and the colors are red and blue. And there's a red shift. And when Chris spoke to Colhart talking about the Star of Regulus, they were talking about it, and he said that it's going to shift colors, because normally it's a red star and it's going to shift blue. Well, those are the two colors of an atom, believe it or not. And as I've been looking more and more into this, I do think that we're going to learn about... See, I've been so focused on Egypt, but I wasn't looking into this. I think this is weird and deep, but go look up Sphinx with not the K, so Sphinx. And you're going to find a brand new hydrogen collider. And I believe this is going to be the understanding that we're going to be learning in the future. So Chris keeps saying, like, when the gaze of the Sphinx, or when Regulus meets the gaze of the Sphinx, but I think that it has to do with an atom reaching inside of the Sphinx. Brand new detector, which is it red? Okay, my bad. So opposite colors. Blue, red, whatever. But the gaze of the Sphinx. So I do think that it's going to be connected to the brand new hydrogen collider that we're creating, and that we're going to be learning about, oh man, what is that stuff called? Uranium-238, which is very interesting because uranium-238 seems to be like something we've known for a very long time, and the Department of Energy has worked on it, but it has more power than what it actually, like, it produces more power than it's used, which is crazy. So essentially, I wonder if we've learned how to use a specific fusion energy, and we're going to be receiving that. That's what I think. So that was my thoughts on Chris Bledsoe in a nutshell. I have it written down in multiple different videos that are much more precise, where I've actually taken time and research and understanding to try to deliver good, clean information. Here I'm just spitballing off the top of my head for you, but yeah, you've decoded this, but it's not what you think. I don't know. That's what I think. I'm very interested to see. I mean, if you guys know what it means, please feel free, let me know, because I have worked my absolute butt off to try to figure out this information, and I know I'm close. That's what I know. I might not be 100%, but I am damn close. Yeah, so someone says, you mean like a breakthrough in cold fusion? Yes, I think that we have unlocked some sort of fusion technology that is going to allow us to manipulate gravity of sorts. Chris Bledsoe also mentioned that at the end of his podcast on Y-Files. He said, just wait till tomorrow, essentially. And in meaning that, he also said, like, Elon Musk won't need rockets anymore to get stuff to space. And then he said that we're going to be able to have certain vehicles. And I think that we're going to be able to go back in time and essentially look at things such as particles from the Big Bang Theory using a nuclear collider of some sort. And that's going to be disappointing, I think, to a lot of people here, because we're all excited about UFOs and aliens, but I don't know if it's going to be so much as aliens rather as it is brand new technology that's going to be beneficial to us. There has to be a reason that we're getting a slow drip of information when it comes to the UFO phenomenon, why it's here, why it's brought up. After 80 years of silence, suddenly we're talking about it. There's a reason for that. There's a reason we're learning about this. There's a reason you guys are knowing names now like Lockheed Martin, Skunk Works, NASIC. You're learning about the people who are involved with these companies. Where, like, there's no explanation for that unless there's something happening. If they're not just going to randomly talk about a secret, something that's been top secret for X number of years. They're not just like, let's just bring it to the surface. No. Why is it coming to the surface? It's either going to benefit them and make them as in our government, seem much more reliable and trustworthy, because all of a sudden they're like, look, we're uncovering every information for you. Someone says money in the chat. Yes, it's going to benefit them, but how is it going to benefit them if they're just saying, look, here's just random information that we've kept secret? There has to be a reason. There has to be a reason that they're going to benefit from it. How? What? What could possibly be the most money? Well, we know that the oil and gas and like natural energy fields, like that is pretty much BlackRock at its tippy top, right? Like that's the most amount of money you could possibly think of, because everyone needs it. And if they unlocked a specific secret when it comes to fusion technology that could surpass oil and gas, that could give us beneficial energy, that's going to be able to be easily pushed into each one of our cars or vehicles or something along those lines, it's going to benefit us, and they're going to make money on it. They found a way to make money on it, and they could bring it out to us. That 6-7, no cap. I don't know if it'd be free energy. It might be free for them, but I feel like they found a way to capitalize on it. But yeah, I mean, it might be free energy for them. It's free clean energy. So instead of having to spend X number on windmills, instead of having to spend X number on solar panels, instead of having to go dig shafts and mines, we found a way to essentially pull power and harness power from an atom. And in doing that, we found a way to charge and collect for that, and then maybe deliver that into a vehicle of some sort. That makes sense. I don't think that they would give it to us free, because there's no such thing as free, especially for the middle class and, you know, underclass. Like we have to still show up and work. They're not going to give us free energy. They need to make money. They want money, and they love money. Also, correct, makes sense as to why a lot of oil and gas are getting destroyed recently, doesn't it? Yeah, like the war that just randomly seemed to pop up out of nowhere and focus on destroying oil and gas, and we're gonna raise our prices so freaking high that we're gonna be struggling to breathe, and then all of a sudden there's going to be a nuclear threat around the entire world due to this crazy war that we got ourselves into, and then something, somewhere, someone is going to come out as a shining hero on top and be like, look, you guys aren't going to push the button. You guys are all going to come together. You're going to realize that you need to all be one, because you are all friends here on this tiny little planet, and we are going to deliver you a new energy source. Pay attention. Like, I'm not saying that is the case, but I'm saying that is a very real possibility. Fear and control. Yeah, we've heard that multiple times through presidents. I can think of 3 presidents who have said the same thing. We could be using an outer world threat, essentially, to get us to come together. Also, Werner von Braun on his deathbed, claimed that the aliens were going to be the last card, essentially, when it came to the manipulation. So here we are. Yeah, the oil crisis feels like a setup for a new power source. It very well could be. You focus in on that. Pay attention to it. Don't let those coincidinkies slide. It seems too sus. And if there's something sus, it's definitely sus for a reason. That's what I've learned over the 5 years of research that I've done on the UFO topic. You got to focus in on little things and pick those things apart. Someone's calling me. I don't know. You got to focus in on those things, pick those things apart, and ask why. And what is interesting is you're going to find a cobweb of information that seems to connect. A new world order. Very well could be. Very well could be. Yeah, it is interesting. That's for sure. What are your guys' thoughts? What do you want to know? Those are great questions. Who's the big player at the table? Who would be the big player? Big player at the table, I think the people that we need to watch right now are the CIA. How are you feeling about all of this? How do I feel about all of the situations? I'm pretty confident in my direction. I'm pretty confident in what I've learned. I'm not 100% confident, but I would say that I am realistically 80% positive. I know what I'm talking about on the basis of the UFO topics and the information that I've learned and read. Again, not 100% positive, but I have spent 4 to 5 years, or probably 4 years realistically at this point, doing deep research day in, day out, and connecting dots. And a lot of my dots are, again, way far off compared to a lot of what the other UFO conspiracy theorists are talking about. I guess not way off, but like I've walked a different path than what they are. A lot of them they're doing great stuff and everybody's doing great things. I think that this topic is so large that it needs to be. One of the interesting things is that, like UFOs around the world, for instance, a good friend of mine, he focused on another topic, and whether he did or not, we ended up crisscrossing paths. I watched one of his videos the other day and I was like, holy crap, yeah, dude, I got the same exact thing. And it was so cool that we took two different paths, walked down, researched two different things, but at the end of the day still came across the same answer. And I was like, well, check that one on the bucket list. Yup, that's probably a thing that we can agree on. So when we have 2 to 3 people who are crisscrossing the same paths, you can pretty much be like, all right, so we knocked that one off. That's correct. The thing about conspiracies and the thing about this one in particular, the UFO phenomenon, is that their evidence is so scattered. It's been here for decades, and you have to take chances, you have to take guesses, and walk into a brick wall multiple times, bruise your nose before you find a door. And then when you find that door, you're like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. And you open that door and you're stuck in another room full of darkness, and you got to like walk your way through by bumping into chairs and tables. And then all of a sudden you get an answer and you open another door. And like that's the UFO phenomenon. It's very confusing. But at the same time, it's like it feels really good when you do find that clue and you find something that matches up with somebody else. And there's a lot of guessing, a lot of guesswork, because it can go in so many directions. But I think that's part of why it's taken so long for disclosure to happen, because it's such a big topic. It's not something we can just do overnight. Debating the New World Order and energy breakthrough. Yep. I think it is something it might have something to do with the New World Order. I mean, we all might just come together as one giant country by the end of this. Who knows? Someone says, you're connecting a lot of the dots to something way deeper and appreciate it. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I've really tried. And I really do think that you guys need to pay attention to the words that are used way closer than you do. I say it in all my videos. I'm like, pay attention, focus, because I find clues, but like it's so hard to describe some of these clues that I found, because like I don't know how to articulate all of it, because I'm like, man, like this connects to 13 different things. Like focus. So yeah, just pay attention to some of the words and watch my videos and focus on the things like Epstein video, for instance, that I just made. I made the 2 of them. Underneath the video of him talking, I've connected specific Google documents. Go read those very deep and look closely at those, because I'm waiting. All of a sudden one day this stuff's going to come out and I'm gonna be like, I told you, like, pay attention. It's just so hard to describe. I understand that I have my pages of research and patterns of history. Yeah, exactly. So like, you get it. When you start like literally deep diving, you have all the, like I have notebooks and notebooks of it. And it's so much fun because all of a sudden something comes out and you were a year ahead, or, you know, before it even happened. And then all of a sudden it rolls out and you're like, oh shit. Like, I knew about that. Like, that's so cool. But it's, at the time, it's not something that should be brought to light. It's just something in your notebook that you crisscross paths with until somebody else talks about it, you know? So I tried on my YouTube channel to talk about a lot of stuff, and that's what it's wild. It sounds crazy until all of a sudden, like, something happens in the world that gets brought up on the news, and I'm like, oh, cool. So we're getting there. But yeah, it's fun. It's just fun. I very much enjoy it too. Like, conspiracy is something where it's like you don't have to be correct either, you know? Like, you can have a conspiracy by following facts that you've collected that don't have an answer. I mean, essentially, Einstein was a conspiracy theorist, essentially, and I'm not comparing myself to Einstein, like, at all, but I'm saying the way that they went about it was similar. Like, Einstein has a theory, right, about how gravity worked and how everything went around, you know, the earth and everything. And essentially, it's a conspiracy theory until it's proven. And even then, like, it still is a theory. So it is interesting. It's kind of fun to think about that. So somebody says, yeah, nobody really gets it. What made you get into deep diving into UFOs originally? So, great question. Originally, I got into UFOs because I've always been into UFOs. When I was younger, I seen multiple things in the sky that I couldn't describe. Like, I have videos, I have photos of things that, like, literally, it's really cool. But I have video footage of a UFO. It was the size of a SUV, probably about 300 feet above my house, above the treetops. And I went out, I filmed it, took videos, and got some great photos of it. And again, it's really hard to see. It was number one on a cell phone, pitch black at night. But if you look at it, you know what you're looking at. You can tell that it is absolutely not an airplane, absolutely not a helicopter, and it's not a drone. I've flown drones. We don't fly drones the size of an SUV. You and I are not getting our hands on it. Maybe top, absolute tippy top military might have something like that. Where I live, there are 0 military bases, and I seen it literally disappear in front of my eyes. So like that kind of got me excited about it. Then the Tic Tac UFO video was released in 2019 on whatever, 2017, and then they covered it. And I jumped in TikTok and I started talking about it. And I was like, man. And one of my videos blew up. It was like at 100,000 views in minutes. And I was like, oh, I know a little bit about this topic. I've studied it for a while. Another video popped up. I did it. Another 100,000 views. And I was like, okay. And then focused on it since I've made videos since I do this full time, not TikTok, but I work in the video industry on YouTube, TikTok, and stuff like that for a company. And I seen my views climbing, and then I was able to pull in 1.5 million views in 24 hours. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to stick with this topic. And I just dove into it and learned a lot about it and found interest in it and made a bunch of videos on it. So I was pretty excited. Let's see. Someone says, any weird dreams? I have had weird dreams, yes. Not about aliens, but about the end of the world kind of stuff. That was pretty interesting. I could talk about those if we want to. I haven't watched your YouTube, but I will. Remember tonight. Yeah, so my YouTube channel, I spent 4 years deep diving and researching on this topic. And YouTube, I tried my best to explain in detail and in depth where I found some of my information or where it came from and how I got it. And it's gonna sound really bonkers, but I do believe fully that the person who's behind it is, you have to go watch my YouTube channel and see how it connects. But again, pay attention. It's very interesting. It's 9 videos of what I created, which spans a timeline, probably give or take, to get through my videos, probably about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then to get through every video that connects it, you're gonna look at about 6 hours, probably, of real life if you actually sat down and tried to like understand bit by bit how my videos connect to the other videos and how those videos connect to this and where the research came from and all that stuff. Like if you actually do that, you're looking at probably about 5 to 6 hours, which is fun for those of us who are interested in the topic and for those of us who like learning and for those of us who are wanting to know more about the surroundings and whether or not I am correct on the UFO topic. If you watch it, I guarantee you will learn something. And it has been information that has been gathered through the DoD, the DIA, the NSA, the NRO, the government.org, information that is played off a little bit of conspiracy, but also information that is heavily coded in fact. And I think that's what made it so fun, because it's like for me anyways, it was like a treasure hunt that I created that allows you, the goal of it is to allow you to look at something differently. So when someone says a word to you, you look at that word and you analyze that word, and then you have to go understand it. And you see, that's very similar to what Da Vinci did. And I know I'm randomly throwing Da Vinci in here, but Da Vinci was one of the absolute best painters as well as the best engineer and mathematician essentially that ever lived. Like, he had an IQ that was almost higher than Einstein's, if not was. Da Vinci was very interesting because he was so focused on learning everything that he possibly could. He had to find and learn everything. He had to understand how the grass grew, or how birds flew, or you see, one point in time, he was going up against Michelangelo in artwork, and they were competing against one another, and Da Vinci wanted to create the best work that he could, so he literally broke into a morgue, and he went inside and essentially learned how the human body tissue worked, understanding muscle tissue and how it connected to the bone structure. And because he did that, he learned a lot more than his other competitors and was able to improve his artwork. You see, there was a point in time back in the day where they thought that our hearts were the same as pig hearts, and that our intestines and body muscles were the same, exact same as those, because we didn't know any different. But he took the time to understand the differences, and he was able to create things like the Mona Lisa because he understood that. And he studied stuff on a different level, and that gave him power and knowledge. And like, I think that if we do the same today, we will learn things that other people didn't know, and it will help you as an individual have better knowledge of your surroundings. So, not saying that that is perfect, my project is perfect, but I think that at the end of it, if you go through it the proper way, you will have knowledge that you had no clue of before you started. And I think that's the point. Well, I shouldn't say I think. I know that's the point of my art project and why I created it over the past 4 years. Someone says, "Oh, this guy is dope." Yeah. Hi, YouTube series is fire. So guys, go check it out. Oh, I appreciate you. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. Now, where do I find the 6 hours of video then? That's a great question. You will find 2 hours of video on my YouTube channel, but you must go search for the others. That's the whole point of the series. If you're going to go into that project, you are going to spend your time researching. You're going to spend your time finding clues and finding knowledge and finding connections and finding things in your surroundings and understanding things like I said earlier in the beginning of this. All of a sudden I went down a path of understanding and trying to look for the information of what created an atom and how an atom works, and neutrons and electrons, and understanding the Department of Energy and how certain bills were signed in 1946 that led us to where we are today, where Congress is actually being currently blocked from not being able to have all access of the UFO phenomenon. And why is that? Those are things that you would discover and look for. So when you find the videos, you will understand. So where do I start on your channel? You guys can go to my YouTube channel. It has the same exact picture as this, the Stop In or Drop In, all one word, Stop In or Drop In. You can go there and check it out. And it's level 2 is what it's called. All I did was get my heart broken on accident. Yes. How do you go through the proper way of my channel? So there's a lot of videos, and there's a lot of videos. There's 9 of them that are connected, and there's 2 ways to go through it. That's all I'm going to say. Someone says they have ADHD and this is not fair. Focus. Use your power for good. What do I think on the ocean life? That's a great question. Very interesting. I think the ocean life is extremely interesting, and I think the dolphins might have something to do with it. Remember that dude who was just trapped recently in pulled down to the bottom of the ocean and helped dolphins work on something. I don't think that story's true, but I do think that there is a reason that story came out. And again, it goes back to the Chris Bledsoe story that I talked about earlier about there being a deeper meaning to each piece of information that you hear, a specific word. Now, I don't know if that one is totally connected. I doubt it is. It's not being pushed properly. But when you see a story that gets pushed across the platform like Jake Barber, that means it's time to focus. Jake Barber is a perfect example of time to focus. You see, it wasn't just Jake that got pushed into this. Jake Barber is the man who talked specifically about the UAP egg. Remember that? The little green egg that blew up. Ross Coulthart talked about it. Jake Barber talked about it. Jeremy Corbell talked about it. That is the kind of thing that you need to be like, oh, turn up the volume. What does this mean? What does this mean? And then you start dissecting it. And it was interesting because what we learned about that specific egg was that there was writing on it, right? Did you know about that? You guys seen that? The little egg with the writing. So we learned that there was an egg. We learned that the egg was being driven by Jake Barber. We learned that Jake Barber had said that it had a feminine feeling to it when he was flying. He said like it was an overwhelming sense of a feminine energy, okay? Quote unquote feminine energy. That's topic. Pick it up. Write it down. That's something that's a key point. The egg. The egg is interesting. Is it a UFO? Is it an egg? Is it something? For me, it could be an Easter egg. It's a UFO, right? But it's an egg. An Easter egg, right? What's on this was writing. Not just any writing. Shapes. Well, why are there shapes? What kind of shapes are these? Well, we learned in episode, I don't remember, of Area 52 podcast where, what is his name? Everybody, Lou Elizondo sat down and said, I worked at the Pentagon and I had to basically learn how to read and write all kinds of glyph. And he talked about like 6 different glyphs that were on parent UFOs. And one of the things that I found interesting about that was the writing on there correlated back to Egyptian writing, which is also in the pyramids. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. So now we have this egg-shaped UFO that had been talked about by multiple people inside the industry. We learned about the glyph that's on the side of that could connect us back to Egypt, but we're not for sure until we learned about the Greek. And I was like, whoa, wow, there's 2 correlations that take us back to the one spot. Well, let's walk down that path, and then boop, here we are in Egypt. And then now I found Egypt, and I have 3 other sources that talk about Egypt. And I was like, wow, son of a gun. It must have something to do with Egypt. And that is the kind of little words that you need to just pull in and focus in on. So when I say pay attention, y'all ain't looking close enough. You need to look really goddamn close. That's how you do it. Okay, back up. Let's go back up. I missed some stuff here. What about the Cali threats from Iran? Yeah, so recently, I think it was today, that they spoke that there was drones that were going to be coming to California. That I don't know. I don't know if that has anything to do with this or not. I'm not 100% sure. It might, but I'm not 100% sure. The lady, someone says the lady from Chris Bledsoe. Yes, there was a connection there. The feminine energy, Chris Bledsoe, the lady, the woman, multiple times you will hear that. And when you hear that source, the feminine, all of that, it seems to connect. There's what connects back to Egypt was the feminine. Chris Bledsoe mentions that the woman also connects back to Fatima, and Fatima connects back to the lady, essentially. So it's a crisscross path piece there. And that, weirdly enough, will connect back to Leo, which is the star cluster that we learned earlier from the Greek mythology. And Leo is one of the very first star clusters that was made by the Greek. And we have inside of Leo, there is a star cluster called the Pleiades star system. And that star system connects back to the Seven Sisters. The Seven Sisters are all known in like gods, essentially, mythology all over the world. Everything from the Egyptian god of Isis, we learn about Thoth, we'll learn about Christian faith, what is her name? The white calf lady. And all of these seven sisters are all connected back to the same entity that Chris Bledsoe had seen, which is extremely odd. And what's really interesting is that Steven Spielberg, wild enough correlation, also once upon a time created E.T., Back to the Future, the fourth kind, I think that, no, not the fourth kind. I always get that one confused. That other UFO one, what is that called? Either way, he's connected to all of this circle. Again, you see, he helped make Men in Black. And in Men in Black, there was a really interesting correlation to this story. Because how many, I'm going to ask you guys this. Yes, Close Encounters. Thank you. Appreciate you. What was the cat's name in Men in Black, ladies and gentlemen? I'm excited. What was the cat's name? Do you guys remember? Hit me up in the comments. Come on. You guys got this. The cat's name in Men in Black. Orion. Yes. And what did they say about that? They said the galaxy was on Orion's belt. And what's very interesting about this is the fact that Orion's belt is connected to the pyramids of Giza, which is interesting because that is connected to Leo. You see, it goes literally Orion, and Orion has a bow and arrow, and he's aiming it at Leo in the same cluster of star systems. And I was like, whoa. Now, what really blew my mind away was when you go look at the poster for Steven Spielberg's new movie, the one with the eyeball that's upside down and the little circle. You guys know what I'm talking about? With the eyeball that's like looking up at the sky. And everybody in the UFO community was like, dude, they're looking at a UFO. The little lights in the eyeball is a UFO. No. The little lights in the eyeball are the Pleiades star system. That is what starts to get weird. Yeah. So now stuff's starting to get crazy. The Space Force logo is a sphinx looking at a star. The Space Force logo technically is this, but the logo you're thinking of is NASIC logo. And that, yes, it is. And Chris Bledsoe actually referenced that 2 times in a tweet in 2005. He tweeted about that and he said, look at the Space Force essentially like knows something because, hold on, it's getting, my page is getting bumped. They said the Space Force and the people know about something. They said, because the Sphinx is looking at the star of Regulus, he called it. But what's interesting is that's not the star of Regulus. If you look it up on a compass, you're going to see that North Star. In the middle of the CIA logo, you're going to see that North Star. It's technically the North Star that it's staring at. But you'll notice this little logo is all over the freaking Space Force, isn't it? You'll notice it every which way. That logo right there is guidance. It's interesting. Yeah. And there's a reason that Chris stated that in his text messages or in his tweets. He said that they know something. He also referenced that same exact specific topic in the Y files. And he said that they know something. And he laughed about it. And that's what leads me to think back to the fact that it's not an actual sphinx, but instead it is connected to the S-Sphinx, which is a hydrogen neuron collider, which was getting created in 2023 and should be done in 2026. Someone says, dude, this ain't fair. Bye, y'all. Bye. Someone says, they finally caught your live after 2 years. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. Hopefully, you're vibing. I finally did one early. Normally I don't get on till like 8, 9 o'clock my time. So yeah, I jumped on a little earlier than normal. I appreciate you. You're the best. But yeah, hopefully you guys have learned a little something today, or feel like you've learned a little something. And again, I told you, like, I was walking my own path. Like, I haven't heard anybody talking about this stuff yet. So I don't know. That makes me feel very alone in this. Some of the stuff that I've brought up, the clues that I've connected, I'm like, man, like no one else is talking about this. And like, I'm not bragging. It's scary because like, I'm finding clues that are so deep of analyzation that I'm like, I have no idea, man. I don't know. Like, I feel like I have a very good grasp of something, and I feel like that's how that they would go about hiding it, because Steve Justice, in 2019 or 17, I always get those 2 years mixed up for it because we know that was crazy times, came out on stage one time and he did this. I'm gonna use this for an example here. So I'm gonna have you guys write this in the words or in the box. I'm gonna ask you to think of ships. Go ahead, think of some ships. Write them down. Write them down in the comments. Think of some ships. This is what Steve Justice, the head of Lockheed Martin, did to a group of people. Someone says the Titanic. Okay. Come on, people. Where are we? We've got 12 people in the chat and one answer. Think of some ships. Spaceships. Huh? Friendships. Wow. Okay. That's very good. Very good. So that's exactly it. So Steve Justice brought out some stuff and he said this to a group of people. He said, I didn't ask you to name something that floats on water. When I said ships, I wanted you to think of friendships, fellowships, dictatorships. He said, I wasn't specific. I want you to think outside of the box, more widespread. You don't have to think of the same thing. He said, so if you think of something that floated on water, I want you to give yourself an F. You are a very educated American. I was like, damn, ouch. And then he goes on to say, you know, if you thought of dictatorship, friendship, like that kind of thing, very good job. And you guys were getting an A+. Like, you guys thought outside the box. You were thinking beyond the words, which is the whole point. And I was like, man, like, I gotta really, truly, Jules, you're fantastic. No one's hating on you. I'm just saying, this was Steve Justice. This was a person from Lockheed Martin. But it was very interesting to see that kind of like understanding from somebody. I was like, wow, like I didn't think about it, but this was years ago and it didn't dawn on me until all of a sudden I started like looking down the rabbit hole and like I was like, wow, like with that sort of knowledge, if we take that wording and we apply it to today's information, like Chris Bledsoe that we talked about earlier, and we learn about the breath of God that blew him over, which could be the Holy Spirit, okay? Or if we learn about the bull with stars that Chris Bledsoe talks about, could be connected to the star system, the star cluster. We're not living inside that box anymore. We are now pushing the boundaries and we are trying to understand a different way of learning. And I was like, dude, like, if this is all connected, we are walking into something absolutely massive. And I was like, well, why are we being boxed in with our thoughts. And that's how I've tried to apply my knowledge from that point forward in all of my art, in all of my thinking, and in all of my YouTube projects. So the standard way of thinking is now being broadened because we are thinking outside of terms that we normally would hear, and that's what I've attempted to do and use when looking at the UFO topic. So, yeah. I know someone says a new Disclosure Day trailer just dropped. I did see it and I'm super excited about it. I found it very interesting that they talked about Roswell in the trailer. Thought that was pretty wild. Yes, very good. And thank you, Ely. Appreciate you. Oh, what do you guys think? Should we wrap up? Are we done? Did you learn enough? What are your guys' thoughts? You guys bored of my conversation yet? You bored of my live? I'm in for the ride. Locked in. Nice. Yeah, what do you guys think? Bored of it? Never bored. Oh, well, I appreciate you guys. Do you have more questions then? Do you want answered? I need a drink because of the government. Ah, I feel you. I got water next to me. I'll have a drink with you. Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. I appreciate it. Anyone else ever had? Yeah, did anyone else ever have a UFO experience? If you guys do, feel free. I will bring you on and you can talk about it for a little bit. Does anyone else want to talk about it? Cheers. I think when I'm awake, I hear other parts of ourselves and asleep. That would be wild. That'd be a little scary. It could happen though. I mean, I don't ever disagree with it. We are waking up. Yes, we are. I feel that completely. Like, I feel like a part of me thinks that like the government has been so far ahead. Like, we live every single day like I really think that at some point in time the timeline got slipped where like we essentially could be living years in the past and the government itself could live in the future. And by that I mean like they could have been halfway through the chess game and then narrating things backwards to us. We all have the same news channel, like Fox, CNN, ABC, whatever. But the events could already be taking place, and then it just trickles down to us. And essentially, we're like a kid in school for them. They drive the ship, they steer the ship, they control the ship. They're years ahead, and then they just bring down the information and teach us and guide us so that way they can keep power over us. You know what I mean? Technology for them is probably way beyond it. And I don't mean just cars or whatever, but I mean like technology, like the moves and the plays that they make, the strategy and stuff that comes out of it, I feel like has already been played. And then all of a sudden it's just like, all right, now that we've learned this, we've understood this, now we'll take it to the American people. Now we'll take it to the other groups and we'll trickle down the technology and let them play with it. And we found a way to manipulate it. We found a way to work it. And now we can deliver it to the people. And I don't see how that's not possible. I mean, when you have secret people, secret underground facilities like Lockheed, secret underground facilities like Skunk Works, and that's just the United States. And if you're working around the whole world like that, you've got those leaders who have, I don't remember what it's called, but they have like that united group where they like get together once a year to strategize things, the business meetings with all the countries. I don't see why they wouldn't run it as a business and be 10 steps ahead and just trail us along like we're living every single day, like we're trying something new, but in reality they're 5-10 steps ahead. Like, could be. Sorry, I've been missing conversation here. Have ever tried remote viewing? I have not myself. I know that people can, I don't know the people who can do it. Maybe if you guys know people, that would be awesome. I'd love to do an interview with them. It's a thing. It's a thing. For a while, I thought that could be what UFOs are. For a long time, I thought about that. And that still could be. I'm not going to cast that out, because if Lockheed Martin possesses the technology to create things like the Tic Tac, which they do, the fact of remote viewing could be connected to that. Like a remote viewer could somehow be able to control a UAP. And it's interesting because remote viewing means that you have the ability to channel into something. And what is it that they're channeling into? Well, it could be a UFO, an unidentified aerial phenomenon. And if they can connect into that, if a UFO had the power, the ability to, per se, time travel, and you can't be in it, like they said that, like, unless it can, when David Fravor was chasing the UFO on the side of the Tic Tac, he said it was making maneuvers that would squish human body parts due to the G-forces. So maybe they remote view them and they use them. They like tune into it, and it's essentially like this thing. I don't know. Another way of looking at it too, though, instead of like remote viewing out of it, is it just isn't like autonomous, which 12 years ago, Lockheed Martin did create a commercial talking about an autonomous craft that could learn from a craft that it flies next to. And that's interesting, because if you guys watch David Fravor's talking about the UFO thing, one of the things he said was while he was flying next to the Tic Tac, it jumped 60 miles ahead and went to his cap point in a matter of seconds. Now, for those of you who don't know, I learned it, so I just recently learned this too. A cap point is your end point. It's your goal point. It's like where you were designed to, so you're supposed to meet up on your radar. So when you're flying in a group together, you have a destination called your cap point. It went to his cap point and ended up there before he went to it, which is interesting because it predicted the future just by learning from the device. So part of me thinks that Lockheed Martin dropped the Tic Tac in the naval base area of the NITS and wanted to see how it would react to our Air Force on a training mission. And it did exactly what it was supposed to do. And you see during the trailer, they claimed that these things would fly autonomously and it would learn from its surroundings, which is exactly what it did. Now, years later, we had information from Ross Coulthart stating that Lockheed Martin has Tic Tac technology. Okay, what did we do? We found a cross point. That's an X. So I found that to be rather interesting, and you should too. Views on Greer. Stephen Greer is a tricky bugger. He is a confusing one. He's a person who was a doctor for a long time and then slipped into the ufologist. Stephen Greer is a very interesting person because he was the first one to come out and acknowledge UAPs before it even really went mainstream. We learned a lot from Stephen Greer, and he's been very concerned about how we are going about it. And it's absolutely 110% opposite of exactly what is happening. So he's a key pin in this information panel. So everybody on one side of the fence who were talking Congress, who were talking, all of that, they're basically saying that these are a defense situation. It's very bad. UFOs are dangerous. They are, what are they called? They need to be looked at like a serious issue. And I don't know if we're using that terminology on one side of the fence in order to get through hoops that the government has locked up. Because if we use it as a term of like it's a danger to society, it's a possible danger, then we have the ability to maybe get access to things that we didn't have before. Stephen Greer says that they're not dangerous, they're loving, they're very peaceful, and if they wanted to hurt us, they would have. he brings up some good points. Stephen Greer also has contacted and connected with specific people from like Antarctica who worked on his team, who have said that there's like dom systems inside the ice, embedded in the ice in Antarctica, who essentially can read all of these UFOs that are buzzing around. He says that he's talked to these beings multiple times. He's taken pictures with these beings. Man, I don't know. I am confused. He hosts a thing where like people can come with him and he can like summon them in and they can like talk, like, you know, watch them together and stuff. I understand you got to make money. I understand that it's a business and you can't do this stuff for free. So I get that, and no disrespect or shade on him. But he is an interesting person who literally contradicts everything that we've learned on one side of the fence of the UFO phenomenon. So if you study one side, you need to study both, but he is a very contradicting piece to everything that I've learned. That's how I feel about it. What's Tom's thing? What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm curious on that question. Please elaborate. Gatekeepers. I'm going back up here. Have you looked into Thomas Townsend Brown? I haven't, actually. I've heard the name multiple times. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's connected to perhaps like Tesla? Like it's within that time period, but no, I actually have not. And that's one of those things where like, yeah, if you guys got information, please feel free, put it in the comments, put it in my actual like DMs, like information like that. If I ever hit a topic, like if you guys have followed me for a while and you're like, bro, like what are you doing? You haven't talked about this or you haven't focused on this, like let me know, because I will dive into it, especially if you see an X point where it crisscrosses on something that I've chatted about. Let's see, what do we got? I think you've mentioned it a few times. Sorry, I'm just going down here. Watch his YouTube series. Yeah. So, yeah. Tom, yes. If you're interested in Tom DeLonge, To the Stars Academy, or anything like that connected to the UFO phenomenon, please go watch my YouTube series. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say to that. Cause that stuff, if you like rock and music and UFOs, I bet you're gonna dig it. Wait, I walked out. What about Tesla? So I was talking Tesla. I'm not 100% sure, but I think Tesla is connected with like the timestamp of Thomas Townsend Brown or Thomas something Brown. That's what I was getting at. I haven't done any research on that specifically, but I do think Tesla is connected to a portion of the UFO phenomenon in terms of the 369. I think that has something to do with the architecture of the pyramids and the connection within that as well. Nikola Tesla, yes. Yes, Nikola Tesla. You've got my attention for sure because you've shown me some stuff I hadn't seen. I appreciate that. I'm glad that I've been able to do that. Now, whatever you guys have learned tonight during this little rabbit hole session, I hope that you go out of this live and go do research. That's what I hope. Because that's the whole point of my topics. Like, I want you to be able to leave here and be like, whoa, dude, like, is this person correct? Because then I want you to go look up the research that I've done and double check. I'm pretty certain I am. Like, I'm very certain. But if there's ever something where you're questioning it and you're like, go double check. And then also, anything that has piqued your interest on any topic, go check it out on a level. Go really do your research. I found so much enjoyment out of it that I really dove deep, too deep. But I would get a hit of dopamine essentially from chasing clues. And all of a sudden I'd just be like, boom, like, oh my gosh, I found something, and this connects with this. And then all of a sudden I'd get excited, and then I'd have this information, I have to go do it again. And so instead of spending my time sitting on the phone mindlessly scrolling, I was using my time to go research and understand topics within the UFO phenomenon, and connections to the ancient Greek gods, and connections to Atlantis, and connections to understanding like what it is people are talking about, understanding Steve Justice when he speaks in front of the people about ships and like that kind of stuff. Like it made me so happy and so excited because I got to learn something, which is interesting because if you guys knew me, I hated school. I like barely graduated. I went to high school, and by the end of high school, I had to sit down with my principal, my teacher, my mom, and 2 other people. I don't remember, like a student advisor or something. And they were like, yeah, so like, you're a good kid, but we think you should just go out of school and just get a job. And then I was like, what? Because I don't know if you knew this, but when I was younger, I had a near-death experience with a TBI. So that's a traumatic brain injury. And so in school, I just learned very, very differently. And it wasn't until that point where I was like, man, like, I don't know who these people are, like these principals and teachers and stuff, but they just told me that I don't need to focus and just go out and get a job. Just stick with it. Nah. And I was like, nah, dude, I can do something. I just learned differently. I didn't know in detail how I learned. I just knew it was different. And then I went to school and I took generals. And I passed college decently there, but then I found something that I really liked, which was photography and video, and I was like, I get it. And I remember I graduated college with 4 A's and a C. And the only class that I had a C in was photography, because I was like, fuck it, dude, I know how to do that. I'm gonna focus on these other classes. And I graduated with an A down. I was the first one in the classroom, last one to leave. And then when I got my degree and I owned my own business, I walked back into that same teacher, the same principal, all of that, and I stood in front of their class and I told the students, I was like, do not ever let a person tell you what you can and cannot accomplish in this world, because they will put you down. So I said, if you want to do something, you focus, you literally do it yourself, you walk forward, and you do not care what anyone else thinks about you. That is how you succeed. And the teacher stood back there in the back of the classroom and was just like, dude, awesome. And I was like, yes. So that was my story. That was something I was very, very proud of and so excited. And it was really cool because, again, I was in special ed classes and these students were going through the same stuff that I was going through. And like just being able to like be there and be like, no, like do not let someone put a block in front of you, regardless of what it is. If you want to learn it, you can learn it. If you want to do it, you can do it. And it was so fun to be there. Yeah. So yeah, needless to say, school is whatever. There's lots of people who just dropped out of school. Elon Musk, I believe he dropped out of school. Einstein, he dropped out of school. And I'm not comparing myself to those people at all in any way, shape, or form. But I'm just saying they structure things in ways for people to learn, and not everybody learns the same. And so like, don't take yourself on a grade just because it is. If you want to do something, focus your energy, put yourself through the paces and go out and do it, and you guys can accomplish a lot. Don't ever put yourself in a freaking box. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, anyways, that's the TED Talk. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. It's the TED Talk for the day. Don't keep yourself in the box. Think outside the box and be creative and walk forward. That's what I'm going to say from that story. What else we got on the UFO topic? Yes, that's right, Seeker. Not everyone does. It's 100% true. If I feel like I'm Pandora, I should probably be put on my own little bubble. If I feel like I'm in, oh yes. Well, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, like some days there are days where I'm just like, I will try talking to my coworkers, which we're all groups of nerds too, and I'll start talking to them, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, you know, I don't know. It's not a good day. Like, there are days like that. So it's okay to be in our own little bubble sometimes. Got to sleep late in here in the UK. Thanks for your time. Have a good night, buddy. Thank you for hanging out. Safety reasons. All right, you guys, that's going to do it for me for tonight. I'm going to head out. I got to clean my house. It's time for adulting. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate you. If you guys learned something, hit that like button. Maybe share a couple of my videos. Go do some research. Head over. Check out my YouTube channel if you guys want to do more research. Dig in. Go learn something. Have fun. I love you guys all so much. Thank you for hanging out with me. And we'll see you guys soon. Have a wonderful night.